If you're interested in promoting your brand, business, or product on Hip Hop News Uncensored, email advertise@hiphopun.com. That's advertise@hiphopun.com. We got a holiday sale going on right now, but I'm telling you right now, slots are filling fast. Ready, set, go.
You gave them all your info. They don't have to look on social media. They'll just look at your application.
Wow. Speaking of that, I seen the video that you did on Umar Johnson, Dr. Umar Johnson, and
Right.
a lot of people, did a lot of videos, but this one hit hard, the hardest that I ever hit. And you went in, you kind of broke down that. Tell me let the people know what you broke down.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So most of my content comes to me through viewer suggestions, and they wanted me to take a look into Umar Johnson and his issue with this school, that he's been raising funds for this school for multiple years.
Yeah.
Well, my background as an accountant, I've represented nonprofit organizations before the IRS several times, right? I've registered nonprofit organizations. I defended them to try to get their 501c3 status reinstated when it's been revoked. I deal with this stuff all the time. So the very first thing that I'm going to do when I'm researching a nonprofit, because I've got clients who get hit up for money for donations all the time. And before I will allow a client to write a check, I say, just give me a minute. Let me take a look at this organization before you write that check. So this is just the due diligence that I would do anybody in this space. So what I ended up doing, I just went to the IRS website and I pulled all the nonprofit tax returns that Dr. Umar's organization has given to the IRS. And what I discovered was two main things. Point number one, he never filed a tax return in the early stages of his organization, all the way to the point that the IRS revoked his 501c3 status, right? Because if you're not giving the IRS any info, you're basically on the bad list, and they say, forget it, we'll take it away from you. Mm-hmm. So that's what ended up happening to Dr. Umar's organization. He didn't give the IRS any financial information, so they took his 501c3 status. So what did Umar do to correct this situation? Well, let me first tell you what you're supposed to do. Okay. What you're supposed to do is hire someone like me to represent you before the government and get you from the bad list to the good list. And a part of what we have to do is we have to go back in time, take a look at all the years that should have been filed, and properly file those tax returns. If you do that, then the government say, okay, we'll put you back on the good list. Remember, I said that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
That's not what Dr. Umar did. What Umar did was just create a new nonprofit organization. Man. And just change the name up a little bit, right? So the new organization has virtually the same name as the old one. He just dropped one word or something out the name. And now this new organization has 501c3 status, where the old one is still on the bad list. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing that I discovered is now that he has this new organization and he realized what happened to the first, he decided, I guess, it's time for me to give the IRS the financial information that they want, so I don't get this second organization yanked like the first one. Mm-hmm. So when I pulled the tax returns, I discovered something that honestly would be alarming. When I pulled the tax returns, I discovered that he reported that for tax year 2019 and tax year 2020, he received no donations for 2 straight years. Now, there's plenty of evidence of himself on video showing people all the donations and gifts that he received over that same time span. But when he reported the numbers to the IRS, he said he received absolutely nothing over 2 years.
Now, doesn't this mean also that people who, like, say, a business like our business, your business, wanted to donate, they wouldn't be able to get that write-off, right? Is that?
Yeah, what would happen is there's a conflict. So in accounting, there is what we refer to as the matching principle, right? So if I am going to give a nonprofit organization a donation, right? Let's say I give them a donation of $5,000. Well, then the IRS would expect to see from that nonprofit organization that they are reporting that they received $5,000, right? It seems kind of simple. Mm-hmm. So if I'm telling the IRS I gave Dr. Umar's organization a $10,000 donation, but Dr. Umar's organization said we didn't get anything, you might get audited, right? Yeah. Somebody is not telling the truth here. And 9 times out of 10, when it comes to an audit like that, they're going to assume that the individual taxpayer is the one who has their information incorrect, right? They're going to assume that the nonprofit organization, because they don't pay tax, why would they not report that they received money? So the IRS agent is just going to assume that, no, the organization is probably correct. The taxpayer, that's the one who's probably got it incorrect. So yeah, you will end up in a tight situation. And now you have the IRS combing through your books and looking at all your numbers because you have Dr. Umar's organization saying they didn't receive any money for 2 years. And you are just honestly trying to get your tax deduction for the donation you gave them.
In your professional opinion, why in the world would that make any kind of sense to do? Like what
there is none. Honestly, in my professional opinion, it's because of negligence. He doesn't know what he's doing financially with building and fundraising for this school, and he seems to have control issues, and he's not going to bring someone in on his team that would be able to assist him, because there's really no advantage. Because what if someone gave him $1 million? It's not as if he's got to pay taxes on that $1 million unless he's living off that money personally and it's not actually going to the organization. That would be the only motivation to not properly report the money that a nonprofit organization is receiving, because otherwise it's not taxable. It doesn't matter. You just say, yeah, Jay-Z gave me $2 million. Boom. It's not a big deal. But if you can't track, because within that tax return, you're supposed to track, okay, if Jay-Z gave you $2 million, how did you spend the $2 million? And if you can't properly show that the money was spent on nonprofit activity and maybe the money was spent on personal activity, now you're in trouble.
So in your opinion, where do you see this going? And is there a way he can correct the situation at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he would need to amend the returns. He would need to hire someone like myself to come in and take a look at the tax returns, prepare accurate tax returns, and amend the returns. That's what he would need to do. But once again, if he's not reporting this information accurately because he doesn't want to disclose where the funds ultimately went, then that's a whole nother story. But if this is an honest to God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm an expert in this area over here. I have no idea how finances and taxes work. Well, then you hire someone like me and we can fix the situation.
That kind of answers my next question on trying to figure out how to word this the right way to make not sound crazy. But he comes to you and he tells you, look, bro, I spent all that shit on personal stuff. Hook this up. Then it's like that circumstance. It's like, man, you on your own kind of situation.
No. I mean, I would, someone like me, we would still have an obligation to represent our client and to try to mitigate his tax liability as much as possible. So, very similar to attorneys, we have a certain degree of accountant-client privilege. I would, explain to him what his options are. None of them are great options. Like none of them in that scenario that you gave, would he just be walking away scot-free and not have to pay anything back. But I would be working and negotiating with the IRS to get him the best deal possible. But ultimately what would happen is he'd have to pay the taxes on that money as if it was his personal money, because that's basically the way he used it in that scenario.
Banged over the head. Yeah. Let the people know where they can find you. Where they can obtain financial advice from you professionally. The floor is yours, brother. Let them know.
Absolutely. So if you want to reach out to me, there's two main websites that you can go to. You can go to thorntonadvisor.com. That is my firm's information. You can book consultations. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We can do a consultation online. So you can go to thorntonadvisor.com. And for all my pocket watchers out there, people who are interested in the content that I create on YouTube and various social media platforms, you can go to pocketwatcher.net. All of my links are there, even the link to my professional site. You can find that at pocketwatcher.net.
Appreciate you, bro, man.
Thank you for the invite. I'm telling you, I am truly a fan. Listen, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm always excited to, do content and be interviewed by things that I'm truly a fan of. And trust me, brothers, I am a fan.
Likewise.
Indeed, we're humble, brother. Keep doing the great work that you're doing. We will see you again. You will be don't be a stranger, brother. Watch with JT on the Hip Hop Podcast. Salute.